Final and last step is sewing on the collar, and this is basically the same procedure no matter if you have a lining or if you don't have a lining, because if you have a lining it will look the same here at the bottom, just the lining coming here, and the lining will already be basted to the outer fabric. So yeah, it's the same procedure. So just follow along the steps, no matter if you have a lining or if you don't have a lining, because they are the same. To speed up the process, I have I have done a few preparations. So I have already sewn together the two collar pieces at one of the short sides and pressed apart the seam allowance, and I have already pressed over the seam allowance of one side. In the instructions there is that you do it for both sides. This fabric is a little hard to work with, so I ask you to do it for both sides. I have done it only for one side, and will press it over with the outer jacket fabric when I have sewn it on. As described in the instructions, you will lay the open, unsewn short ends of your collar piece folded lengthwise on each other, and then you will sew with 1 centimeter seam allowance. It's important that your seam allowance of the long sides is unfolded, so you will sew the full length of the short side. After sewing, you will flip the right side to the outside and make sure that you have a really nice corner here. I always like to take a needle to pull it a little bit out so that it does have a nice shape, and you press it nicely. For sewing the collar to your jacket, it's important that you start exactly at the bottom fold line of your hem and where you have sewn together the two sides of your collar piece. So those have to be aligned really neatly. You want to pin this so it does not move. And then you will also pin the center back with the center back of your collar piece where you have sewn the two collar pieces together, and then you can comfortably just fill up with pins all the way around, and you will proceed the same way at the other side, and then you can pin the whole collar to the jacket. You would do this right sides facing, which means that one side of your collar stays unsewn and unpinned so far. After pinning the whole collar piece to the jacket, it's important that you start your sewing exactly on the previous seam where you sew together your collar pieces to have a neat outcome here. So this means that you will sew with 1 centimeter seam allowance all the way around the collar piece, and then flip it over, and I will show you in a second how to continue afterwards. After flipping the inside to the inside and the outside to the outside of your collar, you kind of flip it over the seam allowance of your previous seam. You want to make sure that you really nicely arrange everything here with the seam allowance flipped inside. And I already prepared some areas to show you. So you will pin on the outside of the jacket, but you will pin the inside while doing this. This is important because you will sew from the outside. Please consult also the instructions. The tutorial is just a bonus to the instructions, but All crucial details are in the instructions as well. So you will sew from the outside with an edge stitch. And to make sure that you catch the back side of your collar piece, you have to make sure that it is a little bit overlapping your previous seam. So you want to make sure that you pin it like this. I personally am a big fan of basting because this just gives you more neat results. So if you have some spare time, it's always worth to invest the extra effort and pin it, because you will just have a more nice sewing line afterwards. So you will just pin all the way around the collar piece. Make sure that you catch all layers, and then you will either baste and sew, or if you're a really brave one, you will just sew. And then you're already finished with your Zoe jacket. Give it one last press and enjoy it.